So the first step to a proper oil change is to learn your car's year, make, model, and most importantly, engine size. To figure out engine size, simply open your hood and look for a sticker that kinda looks like this. It should be displayed in liters. You can also have a dealership or a parts store figure it out for you by your VIN. They will also be able to give you the info on your oil type, your capacity, and your filter type. I would definitely suggest writing it down or saving it in your phone just for future reference. Now once you're more familiar with your car, another great place to get oil, filter, and supplies is the good old Walmart. Speaking of supplies, here's a list of some of the things that you might need, although not every item listed will be required, as we will be covering vehicles with a canister type filter as well as the old conventional type filter. Well, okay, now that you've got all your supplies, it's time to find solid level ground which you can raise your vehicle on. If you're using ramps, place each one of the ramps on the ground right in front of the vehicle. Then go ahead and push the ramps up until they touch the front tire. Then just simply drive up the ramps, making sure not to go too fast like I did here. Chalk the rear tires with a board or a proper chalk. If you're using jacks, this will be your first step. Now find the proper lifting points for your vehicle. Your owner's manual can help you greatly in this. But for more info on this, check out my video on how to properly raise your vehicle. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to locate and remove your oil filter. Now if you have a conventional oil filter like this one, you can actually buy a wrench which will greatly aid in removing them. Just remember up and to the left for loose and up and to the right for tight. Make sure your oil pan is under it so you can catch any spills. Now if you have a canister type filter, you will need a couple of specialty tools, but do not worry, they are very cheap and very plentiful. For the GM Ecotechs and the Chrysler models, you will need a special socket, while some vehicles use this type of tool which can be found at any parts store. Once you have removed the cap, remove the filter insert and replace with a new one. When reinstalling the cap, make sure to replace with a brand new O-ring, and when you tighten them, you do not tighten them very tight at all. Kind of think of it like tightening a mayonnaise jar firmly as compared to maybe say tightening a lug nut. Now we can simply locate and remove the drain plug, but some vehicles may have an access panel that you have to take off. Make sure that the pan's under it and drain it for about 10 minutes. During this time, it's a great opportunity to go ahead and to check your drain plug and the gasket more importantly. If you find that the gasket is in bad shape like this one, you can simply replace them by buying a new one at any auto parts store. Now during this time while the engine has no oil in it, under no circumstances should you ever start your car. Now just go ahead and reinstall the drain plug going right to tight and wipe up any spills that may have occurred. For conventional filters, go ahead and reinstall it, but make sure to look on the engine and make sure that the gasket from the old filter isn't still on there. Even when tightening a conventional filter, my best suggestion to you is to think of it again more like you're tightening a mayonnaise jar, just as tight as you can, probably to keep kids out or something like that. Now you want to go ahead and locate and remove your oil cap and add your oil. Make sure to get a proper funnel that's going to work for your application. Also, be very careful on a lot of these newer cars, mostly with the Ecotechs and things like that. As with these engines, you have to pour the oil very, very slowly, or you will have oil all over your engine. Once you've added the proper amount of oil, go ahead and reinstall the cap and start the engine for about 3 to 5 seconds. Now you can go ahead and turn off the engine, check for leaks, locate your dipstick, pull it out, wipe it off one time, and then stick it back in, and then take your first reading. Add and recheck as needed. Now you can go ahead and remove jack stands and lower the car, or back off the ramps. Now one of the last things you have to do is actually reset your oil light, and in my suggestion, go ahead and just Google it. There's millions and millions of videos how to do it out there. But the last thing that I want to stress to everybody is the reason why you are doing this, changing your oil. People are going to argue with me on this, and it's fine. The number one thing that you need to do for your vehicle is change the oil in every 3,500 miles for conventional and 5,000 miles for synthetic. The engines of today are much different than they were in the past. Now we have things like variable valve timing, which depends on clean oil to work properly. It can even be catastrophic. In addition to that, there's a plethora of things that can go wrong if you do not keep your oil changed. One thing your engine oil does is lubricates all of the moving parts, which is very crucial. But another thing that people don't realize that it does is it actually draws heat from the engine, and when the oil is dirty, it cannot do that properly, meaning you're running a much higher risk for the dreaded blown head gaskets.